Now, going into this movie, I was actually pretty excited. This was actually the first comic book movie I've seen where I actually read the comic it's based off of. So I was so hyped and intrigued to see how they could adapt such an amazing story along with its gorgeous and iconic visuals. And now having seen the movie, I gotta say, Marvel fans, I finally understand your pain. That's right, I'm talking about Supergirl, directed by Craig Gillespie and is the second movie in James Gunn's DCU. And if you've been anywhere near the internet lately, you'll know that it's gotten some mixed reviews, to put it lightly. Now, as someone who's read the comic, I'm trying to base my opinion based off the movie we actually got. Although while I was writing my review, it became clear to me that my enjoyment of this movie is inherently skewed by my enjoyment of the comic book. But overall, I think the movie we did get was good. It is a good movie. Would I say it's a good adaptation of its source material? Absolutely not. It's not even close. I see some people comparing Supergirl to Thor: The Dark World, but in my opinion, I kind of see it more as a Thor 1 in terms of its quality. Like, it's a fine movie, not one you go back to too often, but it does its job of establishing who this character is, and it sets them up for exciting appearances in the future. We already know she's gonna be in Man of Tomorrow, but it's also hard to watch this movie and not think, man, we could have gotten like so much more. Like, the main criticism that this movie got, just like when it was revealed with the trailer, was that they did not adopt the visuals from the comics at all. Bilquis Evely was the artist behind Women of Tomorrow, and every panel is its own fantasy world filled with just stunning colors and iconic character designs, and the movie just had none of that. I mean, look, just as a comic book movie watcher, I knew that they weren't gonna adapt the whole movie with that visual style. That was just too unrealistic. It's just easier for VFX to have everything darker and grayer so you can hide the VFX more easily. But I was hoping just for one scene or maybe two showing just how beautiful this DC universe could look like. Okay, before I go deeper into my issues with the movie, I do want to get my positives out of the way. And for me personally, I think the movie does improve on two minor nitpicks I had with the comics. But let's start with Supergirl herself, Milly Alcock. To be honest, I had never seen her in anything she's acted in outside of her tiny cameo in Superman last year. So going in, I was curious to see just how she is as an actor and if she can just pull off this role. She did amazing with the material she was given to work with, and she's my Kara Zor-El, I believe she is. Even a lot of the negative reviews I've seen for the movie are like, yeah, she is perfect for this role. She's so good at playing this version of Kara who's just so visibly distraught by the trauma she's endured in her life. And I personally don't think Kara got enough screen time showing off her true potential. At least not until the very end. I see a lot of hate online for that final fight, but personally, I kind of enjoyed it because we finally got a glimpse of seeing how badass Kara can really be, showing off her true powers. But Milly did such an amazing job in her first outing as Kara, and like I said, I'm really excited to see where she goes in the future. Then we have Eve Ridley playing Ruthie Marie Knoll, which, side note, when I was reading the comic, I always pronounced it as Ruthie. I don't know why, it was just written like that, so I just thought that's how they pronounced it. So when I first heard in the trailer, they were like, oh, it's Ruthie, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I'm just dumb. But I think Eve Ridley did a fantastic job playing Ruthie. I love that during most of the movie, she was dead set on revenge, just like in the comic. And honestly, the movie kind of fixed a little issue I had with Ruthie in the comics. So in the comics, the story is told from Ruthie's point of view. She's narrating like most of the events that happen. And I personally didn't always love the way she narrated things because she's very stoic in the comic. She always speaks like she's in a Shakespeare play. And while it did work for most of the book, there were a couple pages where it was kind of a drag to get through her dialogue. I think the movie did a really good job of striking kind of a balance between making her a stoic and brave character, just like in the comics, but making it a lot more digestible for the audience. Then we have Matthias Schoenaerts. I know I'm for sure butchering that name, I'm sorry, but he plays the villain of the movie, Krem of the Yellow Hills. I've seen a lot of criticism online about how Krem is portrayed in this movie, saying he's a nothing burger of a villain. Now, I don't like all the changes they made to Krem, but just like Ruthie, they kind of fixed a little issue I had with Krem from the comics. Because in the comic, for a good chunk of the story, it's pretty much Supergirl and Ruthie searching the galaxy for Krem. You know, they're always coming across the planets that him and the brigands have laid waste to. So there are good portions of the book where we don't even see Krem. It doesn't ruin the book by any means. The story is definitely supposed to be more about Kara and Ruthie's relationship. But personally, I just wanted to see a little bit more of Krem in the book. So that's why in the movie, I kind of like seeing him be a violent killer. I honestly was taken back just a little bit when he killed that whole family in the alleyway. I was like, okay, we got to see him like actually commit some acts of violence here. Also, I kind of like the idea that Krem killed Ruthie's entire family instead of just her dad, like in the book. Although I do kind of wish they kept the original reason why Krem killed Ruthie's father. Because in the comic, Krem reveals at the very end the real reason he killed Ruthie's father. Like, Ruthie kind of had a theory about why Krem did it, and it's sort of related to that, but once he reveals the reason why, it's just like the most petty reason ever, and it paints Krem as just the biggest a-hole in the galaxy. And of course, people online are also hating the design of Krem in the movie because in the comics, he's just like a regular guy. But personally, I don't have too strong of an opinion on it. Like, yes, there is something kind of scary about just a regular dude outsmarting Supergirl and committing genocide across the galaxy. But at the same time, I can see Warner Brothers saying like, hey, we got to make our bad guys look very bad and very scary. It's not the worst design by any means, although it is a bit uninspired. But I mean, I see why the studio would want to change his design. It admittedly does make Krem stand out a little bit more, but I totally understand why people hate the change. And of course, we have one of the more notable changes from the source material in the addition of Lobo, played by Aquaman himself, Jason Momoa. I mean, he's amazing in this movie. He's pretty much ripped straight out of the comics. Everyone knew Jason Momoa was born to play this role, and he really got to show why he was born to play this role here. We got to hear him call someone a bastitch. I don't think he said frag, but I could be wrong. I honestly was hoping for some kind of reference to Miss Trib. I just think she's a funny part of his backstory, but who knows? Well, maybe we'll see her in the Lobo spin-off show. People online have been making the case that you can take Lobo out of this movie and pretty much nothing will change. And yeah, I mean, they're right about that. They kind of even forgot to write an ending for his character. He's just kind of awkwardly there at the end. I could see the argument made that he's kind of like the devil on Ruthie's shoulder telling her to give in to revenge, and Kara's the angel on Ruthie's shoulder telling her not to get into revenge, but that message gets really muddied by the end, which we will get into. But yes, you can make the argument that taking Lobo out of this movie changes pretty much nothing, but me personally, I'm very happy he's in this movie. Okay, now I'm gonna get into some of the things I didn't like with the movie. Now, I have two main issues with this movie and some nitpicks, so I'm gonna do my nitpicks first and then get into my main issues. My first nitpick is just some of the editing in these scenes. There's a couple of action scenes and non-action scenes that have so many quick cuts in between different angles, and it was just super jarring to me. Like, there's this one scene where Ruthie has to put on like a spacesuit so she can breathe. It's not even an action scene, but there's like 6 cuts from like the roof, the right where Kara is. I'm like, what the hell is going on? It honestly was like that meme of Liam Neeson jumping over a fence in the Taken movies, and there's like 10 quick cuts. I mean, it might just be me because I'm getting to that age where I get nauseous very easily, but those quick cuts were very disorienting to me. Something else I thought was a weird choice was to have Kara not wear her suit until the very end of the movie. I personally love the suit. I defend the David Corenswet suit. You know, I know some people aren't a fan of it. I personally like it. So I just don't know why she has to be dressed like Star-Lord for most of this movie. Like, in the comics, she was wearing her suit like pretty much all after issue 1, she was wearing her suit. Also, I know I semi-defended Krem's look in the movie, but I wish they kept Ruthie's design from the comic. It's not even like a complicated look. I would have just taken the purple eyes. In the movie, she looks like she's just a kid from Earth. Another big nitpick I have for this movie is the relationship between Kara and Krypto. In the comic, there's really no backstory on when Kara and Krypto, how they met. So when the marketing came out for this movie, I was like, okay, they're going to show us a little bit of their backstory and why we should care for their relationship. But we really don't get that. We get one scene where she finds Krypto as a stray during her mom's funeral, and that was pretty much it. Like, if you're going to add this dynamic of Krypto actually being in danger and you want to show the relationship between Kara and Krypto, like, you got to give it some depth, give us more than 1.5 scenes. I just would have liked to see more of Kara and Krypto together on Argo City. Speaking of another plotline I wish had depth is the whole Captured Brides plotline. Again, this wasn't in the comic book, so if you're gonna go for something new, you gotta actually go for it, you know? I feel like this plotline is where they edited out a lot of stuff. I mean, maybe Warner Brothers thought it wasn't a good idea to show in their movies, but the whole plotline just felt very flat and just thrown in there. The movie's like, oh, they have brides. Oh, the brides are on his ship. Oh, we saved the brides. Like, it didn't add much. So those were my minor nitpicks with the movie. Now I'm going to go into my major nitpicks, but before I do, I kind of just want to make something clear. I read the Woman of Tomorrow comic, and I do think it's a really great run. I do stop short of saying it's like the greatest comic book run ever, like some people like to say online. However, the 6th issue might be the greatest single issue of a comic book I've ever read. And going into the movie, I knew that Warner Brothers wouldn't have the balls to put Comet the Super Horse in the movie. If they did, I would have given this movie an automatic 10 out of 10, like hands down. But the one thing from issue 6 they needed to get right in this movie was Kara's origin on Krypton and Argo City. But man, did they drop the ball on it. I know I said earlier I didn't want to, judge the movie based off what they didn't adapt from the comics. But man, Kara's backstory is just like so important for her, just like as a character. Like, it's one of the more defining traits of her, in my opinion. In the comics, she watched her world die 3 times by the time she was 14 years old. She was there when Krypton blew up, but the movie changed it where she was born 8 years after Krypton blew up, which, call me crazy, but is it not a bit selfish? Like, you have a child while your tiny chunk of a planet is like floating with limited resources. I mean, that's a whole nother discussion. And in the movie, once the kryptonite radiation kicks in, Zor-El immediately sends Kara to Earth, which I was like, oh my God, because they cut out so much of her backstory. It's so much more tragic in the comics because Kara worked pretty much by herself for 3 weeks straight, all day, all night, covering all of Argo City in an iron sheet to stop the radiation. Then she had to bury the 13,000 people who died from the radiation. It's only when the asteroids start breaking through the force field that Zor-El's like, look, our only option is to send you off-world. The comic just adds so much depth to Kara and helps us understand why she is the way she is. And it just makes you appreciate her more. She went through so much, like 10 times more than Superman, and yet she still fights for good. The movie just didn't really portray that well, in my opinion. My final and by far biggest criticism of this movie is the ending. I can't defend it at all because we watch Kara Zor-El, the great Kara Zor-El, stab Krem of the Yellow Hills through the throat, killing him. When that happened, I was just so genuinely shocked and disappointed because not only does it stray so far from the ending in the comic, it just doesn't even make sense within the movie itself. The whole movie, Kara keeps telling Ruthie, don't do it. Revenge is bad. You cannot kill Krem. It will not fix anything, which is true. She's right about that. So why in the world would you have Kara, like literally 5 seconds after telling Ruthie not to do it, just go up and be like, oh, here you go, and just fucking skewer him? I don't think there was anything in the movie that justified her actions of killing Krem. Like, she already had the antidote for Krypto. Like, there was no, it's not like even like, oh, he broke the antidote. There's no antidote for Krypto. Like, she had it. There was no reason to kill him. Now, in the comic, Supergirl is very close to killing Krem, and it's actually Ruthie who talks her out of doing it. It's an amazing full circle moment between the two, and it just works so well. Now, I'm not saying Supergirl should have killed Krem in the comics, but in that moment, you can see why she would have wanted to kill Krem. She had just spent months and months traveling to so many different planets that have been ravaged by Krem and his crew, and she had to bury so many innocent people. Also, Comet the Horse ended up getting killed in battle, so at that moment, Supergirl was just completely worn out physically and mentally. You could see where she was coming from in that moment when she went to go kill Krem. But in the movie, there's really nothing that, maybe other than that family getting killed in the alley and Ruthie's family, but there's nothing like that in the movie that justifies Kara's actions. I mean, look, I do like the notion of Kara being more of a badass than Clark. While Superman might use his words at first before resorting to violence, Supergirl's like, screw it, you want to fight? Let's throw down now. But I firmly believe that the Els should never kill. I'm personally more willing to accept a Batman that kills. I mean, of course, if it's written correctly, but I'm willing more to accept that than a Superman or a Supergirl that kills. I mean, I thought we learned our lesson with Man of Steel. Like, people still debate about Superman killing Zod to this day. But yeah, that's my review of Supergirl. Like I said, the movie overall is okay. It is a good movie, okay? But as an adaptation of the Woman of Tomorrow comic, it can be really frustrating. It's not the worst superhero movie ever like some people are saying online, and it's definitely not a death blow to the DCU like some people are preaching. It's a fine movie. I mean, hey, I'm gonna call it the best Supergirl movie ever, okay? I mean, there's not a lot to choose from, but it's the best of them, okay? But for a serious rating, I am gonna give the movie a 3.8 out of 5 Benjamin hits. I do just want to touch a little bit on the box office of this movie and the overall reception of it because it's not looking great. And there's many reasons for that. I mean, first off, they couldn't have picked a worse release date for this movie. It's releasing in between Toy Story 5 and the new Minions movie, which both of them I think are going to get close to the $1 billion mark. And it's just the negative word of mouth that's been spreading about the movie. Some of that, of course, is because people are just going to automatically hate this movie because it's about a female superhero. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like that's not a reason. But also, there have been just some nasty articles written by Variety about this movie, and it's obvious they're just writing hit pieces on this film. Like, I think they honestly have a grudge against people at DC. It's honestly disgusting in my opinion, and I thought a trade publication like Variety would have a little bit more integrity than that, but I guess it is what it is. Unfortunately and fortunately, I do think this movie will do well on streaming. I say unfortunate because I wish people went out and saw this movie in the theaters, but also fortunately because I do want people to see this movie and fall in love with this character and be excited about her future in the DCU. But let me know what you guys thought of Supergirl. What did you think of Lobo? Are you excited to see Kara appear in Man of Tomorrow? Let me know down in the comments below, and this is where I'll end this long story of Ruthie, Supergirl, Creme of the Yellow Hills, and Fancy a Smoke Media.